November the 4th. Welcome. Grab a coffee and let's talk about a realistic utopia of a fair society. As a fair society is our only chance to banish violence and war from our lives. With the wars going on and election day in the US coming up tomorrow, I'm nervous. Are you? I'm still thinking about the role of journalism in a fair society. Journalists are only humans, like everyone else. As all humans self-generate their model of the world, all journalists can only see the reality they create for themselves, including information that their body and mind allow them to compute. Under normal circumstances, that means they will not even notice or accept any information that might put the integrity of the framework of their previous model in question. Hence, a journalist's report will always reflect the limits of the individual model of the world, their individual model of the world, their reality, and not the reality. That's a distinction that everyone, the journalist, but also the consumer of the news, needs to keep in mind. Because the model of the world of a journalist is just as much worth as any other model of the world by any other human. So they have not a special place and they shouldn't act like it. But we shouldn't act like they have more weight in our discussion, or anyone has more weight in our discussion. We all have the same say in a fair society. What does it mean in the context of the creation of a fair society? A fair society is a corporation in which even the least advantaged of the cooperators sees the shared motivations for cooperation of the group fulfilled for themselves. At a minimum, because that's the natural motivation of all humans to cooperate, this means that even the least advantaged, along with everyone else in the group, experience a sustained increase in the ability to execute random searches. For example, discover, develop, and employ natural skills and abilities throughout all the life. Try themselves out without fear. Explore their surroundings. Gather new information instead of exploiting on a daily basis like today existing knowledge. And so on and so on. Any cooperation requires at least a sliver of common ground. A shared reality. We self-generate our models of the world. They are therefore very diverse. We as humans must actively create this sliver of shared reality by implementing a shared replacement dataset into our individual word generation processes. A replacement dataset which contains the shared motivations to cooperate, the shared goals of the cooperation, and the by all cooperators agreed upon rules and structures of the cooperation. That's for a fair society. If you want an unegalitarian and unfree society, yes, you put force to it. So the replacement dataset of someone or a group of someone's is pushed on all, even when they don't agree. But in a fair society, there need to be in the data set only rules and structures all cooperators can agree to and have agreed to. For starters, this means for the cooperation to work that the replacement dataset must be constantly repeated between the members of the cooperation to remain relevant in their individual word generation processes, which happens, like all thinking, to at least 98% unconsciously, but also to reassure each other that all of them are still on the same page when it comes to their shared motivations to remain in this corporation, their shared goals they want to achieve via the corporation, and their agreed upon rules, structures governing their corporation. In corporation where this can't happen face to face because they have become too large. This is the job of a journalist. Repeat the replacement dataset as is and has been agreed to by all cooperators. Then it means for the corporation to work that the replacement dataset must be constantly maintained and updated to allow for the continuously updated models of the worlds of the cooperators. The large part that must remain free for the individual to generate as they think best, because only that will guarantee that there will be really random searches done by the cooperators and not searches that are guided by existing knowledge given through the dataset, the replacement dataset. In a fair society, everyone must be able to suggest changes. For example, how best the risk of random searches is offset for every cooperator, considering the payoff the cooperation generates by enabling everyone to execute these searches, or what shared motivations or possible goals could be at, just as every cooperator must agree to any change that is made. People have a right to be convinced of changes, and on the other hand, an equal duty to be willing to be convinced. In cooperation where this can't happen face to face, again because they are too large for that, this again is a job for a journalist. Report on suggested changes and the arguments for and against them so that the debate can be shared in all circles. Lastly, not all cooperators will be convinced because what is suggested isn't compatible with the part of their model of the world for which they select the information as they think best. This means they will not implement the updated replacement dataset that will result in a lack of the necessary shared reality to cooperate. Hence, the cooperation stops. These members must have a right, a realistic ability, because there are groups that take them in on the outside, to leave the cooperation and seek a better fitting cooperation for themselves. But again, they also have a duty, a corresponding duty to leave because their remainder and participation in the high risk offset system without the same input would influence other cooperators to demand the same for themselves. Slowly but surely the whole corporation would fall apart because no one is using the same replacement dataset anymore. And there is no shared reality in the group. And as a result, because some people maybe really like their replacement dataset, the things they think should happen, there will be force introduced to at least so that members who do not agree, and remember they do not agree because they will not get out of a corporation anymore, what made them join the corporation in the first place. So force will need to be introduced to at least so that these members at least act as if they implement replacement dataset. Usually to exploit existing knowledge day in and day out for the payoff that brings. It's not as high as in random searches. But it has the advantage that you can say where the payoff and when the payoff will happen, something that is not possible for a random search. And so a single person who forces these people into their cooperation, what is not a real cooperation anymore because it doesn't offset the high risk of random searches, will have the ability to siphon off the payoff from that exploitation of existing knowledge. That's basically what we have right now. So that's how force enters our society. The society would then become unfree and unegalitarian because some people decide what is in the replacement dataset for all of us. In corporations where the promulgation of a final decision can't happen face-to-face between all members, this again is a job for a journalist. Inform about a majority decision that has been happened about an update and name options for these centers, but make clear that the remainder in the corporation is coupled to the implementation of a full updated replacement dataset. Finally, it is vital to stick to one level of cooperation in the reporting. There will always be smaller cooperating groups that come together to form larger cooperating groups. They all have their own replacement datasets in the groups. The replacement datasets all members of a corporation agree to will get larger the smaller the group is, as the replacement datasets of lower level groups contain everything inside the upper level group's replacement datasets, plus whatever additional motivations and goals has brought the cooperators together in the smaller group and the necessary additional rules and structures to get there. Not every information is pertinent to all replacement datasets. It's a journalist's job to know on which level an information belongs and not drown out what's important and will sow confusion by flooding the higher level conversation with things only pertinent to lower level replacement datasets. Okay, any thoughts? Tell me, tell all, since our models of the world change with every new information we gather, and the models are only accessible to others when we communicate them, because they are the product of our mind and our mind only. We are part of never-ending negotiations that require constant conversation and debate if we really want a fair society. That's all for today. I hope I'll be back with a TikTok live tonight. You're cordially invited to my kitchen where I'm preparing dinner. It will be a goulash, pasta and some veggies. And while I'm preparing those, I will talk about just that. My ideas about the fair society and the ideas based on roles and on science of the mind. It's the nexus between the two. And if that's not your cup of tea, I will be back with another video about a realistic utopia of a fair society. I hope to welcome you then again. Until then, bye.